All right, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and hi to everyone. So, in this video, we are going to start with a new chapter with a new content. Uh, we are going to discuss on the topic on the content number 5 in our course information, and we are referring to chapter number 10 in the textbook, and the content is on organizational structure or organizing. These are some of the learning objectives that we are trying to accomplish by at the end of this chapter. So we talk about organizational architecture is comprising of organizational structure, the control systems, the culture, the human resource management systems that together determine how effectively and efficiently organizational resources are being used. So it is considered as an architecture because it comprises of all of these elements. You need to really architect, you really need to design on how the functions and coordinate the efforts within the organization so that each of the departments, each of the units could work effectively and efficiently within organization. So, in order to design an organizational structure, first we need to understand what does an organizing mean. It is a process by which managers establish the structure of working relationships among employees to allow them to achieve an organizational goals efficiently and effectively. So there are many people in the organization. If we look at our organization also, there are many different people with different backgrounds, and each of those are being placed in a specific department, and each of those will only be reporting to only one manager. So that is what we call as a working relationships. If you are assigned to work in an organization where you have to report to more than one manager, it is going to be a little bit of problem. There might be issues that you need to be dealing with because you need to satisfy and fulfill the demand from respective managers. So that is what organizing is. And we talk also about organizational structure. It is referring to the formal system of tasks and reporting relationships that coordinates and motivates organizational members so that they work together to achieve organizational goals. So even if we look into this organizational structure, we can clearly see the reporting relationship. We know that this person is responsible to this person, and this person is responsible to this person, and how many departments are there in the organization. So we can determine in terms of the size, we can determine in terms of the reporting relationships that might occur in that particular organization just by looking at the organizational structure. And then the organizational design is another important element that we talk about organizational architecture, the process by which managers create a specific type of structure and culture so that a company can operate in the most efficient and effective way, whether they want to use a functional structure, a product structure, a market structure, a geographical structure, divisional structure. So that is organizational design, which we will discuss later. And then we go into the factors affecting the organizational environment, the organizational structure. Number one, we talk about organizational environment. The more dynamic the environment is, the more complex the environment is, the more open and fluid the organizational structure that you need to create. Because if you are working in a very fast changing environment, you cannot have a structure that is a tall structure because it will slow down the decision making process. So if you are working in an organization where you are operating in a very fast changing type of industry, you need to have a little bit flattened type of structure so that the communication would be fast between you as well as the top manager. And then we talk about the strategy. The strategy also will dictate in terms of the structure that you are going to implement. If you choose a structure that you want to be differentiate, for example, that structure maybe would that, for example, if you pick a customer service as part of your differentiation. So that would influence in terms of the number of employees within your customer service department. And the third one is the technology, for example. Technology would definitely influence the structure as well. In a fast changing technological environment, you need to have a structure that could speed up the decision making process. And then when we talk about human resources, the structure also will be characterized by the human resources that they employ. Uh, the way that an organization structure works depends on the choices managers make about how to group tasks into individual jobs, and then how to group jobs into functions and divisions, and how to allocate authority and coordinate functions and also divisions. So these are the determinants on which structure that the organization will employ. Grouping tasks into jobs, the job design. So the first step in organizational design, when we talk about organizational design, we talk about the job design. Job design is the process by which managers decide how to divide tasks into specific jobs, and the appropriate division of labor results in an effective and efficient workforce. For example, if you are about to set up a new organization, we have already know in terms of the product that we are going to sell. And so before we can move forward, these are the things that you need to decide. You need to start off with the organizational design. So what type of jobs that you might be needed in your newly formed organization. So we need to identify on how to divide the task into specific jobs, the division of labor, because this division of labor would definitely influence how effective and efficient your workforce is going to be. And then we talk about job simplification, the process of reducing the number of tasks that each worker performs. After the study on the job design, maybe some of the jobs are quite repetitive. So maybe we can simplify those jobs by combining the tasks into a similar group or similar job design. And then job enlargement, increasing the number of different tasks in a given job by changing the division of labor. Sometimes, yes, we talk about job enlargement in which the job scope has been expanded. We increase the number of tasks that a particular employee needs to do, and and then sometimes by changing them into different department, from one department to another department. So when job enrichment is the one that when you increase the degree of responsibility a worker has over a job. Sometimes your position is still the same, but in order to create more value in you, that you feel that you are more needed in the organization, what the organization will do is that they will enrich by adding a little bit more responsibility on your job. And then job enrichment, empowering workers to experiment to find new or better ways of doing the job. These are some of the benefits. So this also would allow and encourage employees to develop new skills, allow workers to decide how to do the work, and then allow workers to monitor and measure their own performance. So how to make the jobs more interesting? uh, just now we talk about all the elements that we need to have when we talk about designing a particular job in the organization. So now we talk about the characteristics model of the job itself, how to make the jobs more interesting. So these are some of the things that you need to include when we are trying to create a particular position in the organization. And number one, we talk about skill variety, referring to the skill, the wide range of skills that the employee might need to have in order to perform that particular job. For example, when we talk about a position as a researcher as well as a position as a staff at a waiter at the fast food restaurant, and the skill that is needed is totally different. So that is something that we need to clarify. The different level of skills that might be needed in order to perform that particular job. And then we talk about task identity. Worker is involved in all tasks of the job from beginning to end of the production process. In some of the job, the worker might have higher level of task identity when they are involved in every single step of the process until the finished products. Uh, Rather than an employee who only perform a particular functions of that job production or of that good production. So we would feel more, the task identity would be much higher if we are performing, we are involved in the type of job in which we involve in every single step of the process. That is what we call as task identity. And then when we talk about task significance, the degree to which a worker feels his or her job is meaningful because of its effect towards the people inside of the organization. So sometimes how to make the jobs more interesting by stressing or strengthening on the task significant. So we know that our portion of the job is very important, even though it is only a small part, but it is meaningful. And then autonomy, employee has freedom to schedule tasks and carry them out. Everybody likes to have a little bit of autonomy in their work, meaning that we can decide on what are the things that we can do. Sometimes we are given the freedom in order for us to decide in terms of the hours of work. And you can come at 9, but you are going to go back a little bit later as long as you fulfill that 40 hours per week, for example. Yes, we like to have that. And that could make the job more interesting. And then feedback also, workers get direct information about how well their job is done. This is also another important element on how to make the job a little bit more interesting, in which we can provide feedback on the outcomes of the job that has been performed by our employees. So we will stop here first, and then we will continue in the next video.